deeply cares for her parents. She is a wife who acts like a air with her partner's wings. She is an entrepreneur who is trying her hardest to prove her worth at her workplace. She is a friend who manages her social life and loves to host. She is an expert at multitasking and on her way to redeem her position in society, a position that doesn't refrain within the walls of her home, but ones that want to conquer the world. We also welcome Dr. Ritu Santwani, who is having rich experience in the field of ops and gynec, along with the specialization in IVF and cosmetology. Her passion and academics give a big push to the pharma industry as well for arranging the more scientific program. So with this, we request Dr. Ritu to take over the session and welcome to the session, madam.
Yeah. Thank you, Gupta ji, for the kind introduction. So, first of all, I think it's my duty to welcome our very own Nandita ma'am. A very, very warm welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, friends, a very famous quote I think you all have heard. There are two more common powers in the world. One is the power of the sword, and other is the power of the pen. But I think all of you are agree on this with me that the third power is the most important power. That is the power of woman. How many of you agree with me on this? I think being a woman is my superpower. And how many of you believe in this? Please write in the chat box. I am waiting for all of your comments. Yes, please write. I am seeing the 40 participants are here. Please write in the chat box. So, as today is the International Women's Day, so happy International Women's to each and every one of you. So today, to have a discussion, I am having a very, very special guest with us, our very own charismatic, charming personality, none other than our very own Nandita, Dr. Nandita Palshetkar ma'am. I want to say specifically our very own. Nandita ma'am is the one who never says no. Means for me, तो ma'am is like, अगर मेरे से कोई अंधेरे में बत्ती जलाने की बात करेगा तो फिर मेरे मुंह में एक ही नाम आएगा, that is our Nandita ma'am. So I hope I should speak in English. There are so many friends have joined from across the countries. So ma'am is always ready to help to each and everyone. As Gupta ji has rightly introduced regarding the ma'am has done a lot of work and still is doing. And we have done lot in the madam's presidential shift that we for Istri. So today we are going to discuss a very, very important topic regarding the mystery of the role of the nutrition from adolescent to menopause. So before we go to the topic, ma'am, you are the role model for many of us. So I think it's a dream of each and every Foxian to have one photo with ma'am. हमारे लिए तो कॉन्फ्रेंस में जाने का मतलब ही ये होता है. Sorry, I will speak in English. My so many friends from Lebanon have joined, ma'am. So our purpose for going in the conference is like that, to have one picture with our own Nandita ma'am. So ma'am, you are role model for all of us. I want to know, who are your role models?
I think that's a wonderful question. My role model has been my mother. I think she's had a tremendous influence on me. But before I get on to it, first of all, I want to say hello to Gupta ji. Thank you for those lovely words. I mean, really, so beautifully put in. Nobody has ever described me this way, you know. So thank you madam. Very much. Thank you very much. And Ritu, for me, and between you and me, it's unconditional love. So there's no question of refusing anything. It's unconditional. Yeah, and okay, let's come to your question. I think my mother has been a big influence in my life. She's been a role model, and her strength, her charisma, and I think the way she kept her own. My dad was is a phenomenon, you know that. So, yeah. You know, to live with my father as his equal, and I would say, you know, takkar pe takkar dena with my father was a huge thing. And I think she did it with so much style, so much aplomb. It was fantastic. So she has really been my role model. And of course, in IVF, I always respected Dr. Indra Hinduja. I mean, you know, with my first panel discussion, I remember, Ritu, I was very young, 30-year-old And I was taken in a panel. I went to her, I sat down with her, I said, please teach me how to talk. And she so sweetly explained to me. So I think it's been an amazing journey. And actually, I look at every individual. Ritu, I learned something from you also. You know, every person, Mr. Gupta, the way he got and he came forward with my anemia campaign and got everybody together, I think everybody can be a role model for each other. The thirst to learn should be there in you. And that is what is important, Ritu.
Amazing, amazing, ma'am. Ma'am, as this is the 21st century, so in this International Women Day, any message you want to give for the 21st century women? Especially I want, because today so many my friends have joined from Lebanon and Oman. So, yeah.
I think we doctors are a privileged breed, but still, I would say choose to challenge. We need to challenge. Barriers are there in our mind. Set your mind free from them. And you know what I feel? Women power, if it is, nurtured and cultured, we have to turn women power into prosperity. That would be my tagline for this Women's Day. Women power means prosperity. And it's better if the policymakers, everybody understood it, because how many billion women in this country, in this world? 38 billion women in this world. So obviously, if you empower them, if you give them things, you can have prosperity. So choose to challenge is what I would tell everybody.
Yeah, very correct, ma'am. Thank you so much. Totally agreed with Nandita's ma'am's view that women empowerment is the nation empowerment. Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, with your due permission, shall I start the topic?
Please, please.
Yeah.
I'm sure people are waiting.
Yeah. But in between, all I interested to know more and more about you. So many doctors had requested. Earlier also, I have done 3-4 programs with Nandita ma'am. All are in super successful. Ma'am, I want to share with you the last TV recording what we have done. That was highly appreciated in the Gulf countries. I will send you. Yeah, means yesterday only I got that. So coming to the very important topic regarding this nutrition, ma'am, I want to know what's your opinion regarding the importance of the nutrition in the adolescence period?
Oh, yeah. I think it's very important, because these adolescents are going to get married and going to become mothers tomorrow. So in fact, I believe in it. I'm so glad you started with the adolescent, because if you make this girl healthy in her adolescence, she will grow up as a healthy individual, as a healthy adult, and will be a healthy mother to a child. Remember, Ritu, that when you are carrying a baby, if you are not healthy, if you're not having a nutritious diet, it can stunt the population. All this malnutrition, anemia is actually causing stunting of the next generation. And this correction of anemia nutrition, which we're doing during pregnancy, ideally should be started in the adolescence. So I'm really glad to be talking about it and laying emphasis on the fact that the nutrition, the diet, the exercise during adolescence, teaching the adolescent girl the right way to live a healthy life is very important.
Very true, ma'am. So thank you so much, ma'am, for this. Ma'am, these days we are seeing that so many patients are becoming vegan. We are getting so many patients, means especially in Pune, Mumbai, most of the patients are coming with different concepts in their mind. So what do you think, ma'am? What will we advise to such patients? Is it okay? And what's your opinion on that?
See, veganism is a way of life. In fact, my own daughter-in-law is vegan in my house. So I have seen it very closely. But what I feel is that it's a very healthy lifestyle, provided you get all your nutrition, like the adequate proteins, the adequate carbs, the adequate fats. All these three should be balanced in your vegan diet. And vegans have different sources of proteins, mock meat and soy and all those things, cheeses and different things. And the soy milk and the cashew milk and the almond milk. So all these are different sources of proteins, the nuts. So in veganism, even, the seeds are important. The all these. So if you're a vegan, yes, but you must see that you eat everything in the right quantity. That is very important. But in fact, I think when you're pregnant, the protein requirements, the calorie requirements increase. So you have to really, really be more careful in that. And if you can incorporate an egg or some source of calcium, I think maybe just for those 9 months, for the benefit of your child, I would really appreciate it in my vegan patients who get pregnant.
Okay, okay, ma'am. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, as you and me both are infertility specialists, so many patients we are seeing with this twins and triplets. So there is a very common myth in the everybody's that everybody in India telling them now you have become pregnant, now you have to eat for the two. And now if you are carrying the twins, you have to eat for three. If you are carrying the triplets, you have to eat for four. So ma'am, want to know your take home message for that.
I think there is a lot of change in concept about weight gain in pregnancy. And 1 minute, there is some emergency call coming from my resident.
Okay.
Can I just,
okay,
1 minute? Sorry,
yes.
very sorry.
Yes.
So, Farzana, I'm on a program. Is it urgent? Okay, thank you. It was my resident calling from the hospital, so I needed to, I was getting a little uneasy. Thank you, Ritu, for giving me that time. So I think there is a lot of change in concept of gaining weight during pregnancy. There's a lot of change. We have a lot of nutritionists who help us. And I've had a lot of celebrity patients who just put on the weight that they need for the baby. They don't really put on that requisite 12 kilos and, 10 to 12 kilos, even for a single baby. So I've seen healthy children come. So it's not the matter of quantity. I think it's the quality of food that matters, because that is what goes the micronutrients, the macronutrients which are there, they should be in adequate quantity where the child is growing. And today we have the sonography to monitor it. We don't go by weight gain as to how much the baby is growing or the woman is put on weight that, oh, baby is growing well. I think the sonography, the ultrasound really helps us monitor the child, whether it's in the right percentile of the growth. And if that is good, I think you don't need to eat for 2 and 3 and 4. You need to eat the right quality, which is important.
Agreed. Yeah. Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, now coming to this, as we have discussed regarding this protein. So ma'am, there are a lot of protein supplements in the market. So in the last program also, I have discussed with some of our doctors have joined here. Dr. Kariman is doing a great work in the Lebanon. She's doing on this protein. She has presented so many papers. After, once we finish your conversation, we unmute them and we will take their opinion also. Okay. So ma'am, yeah. So ma'am, we want to know what's your opinion? Which kind of protein is good in the pregnancy?
I think I'm not an expert at that, but I do believe that whey proteins are good, and they are required. They have all the essential things without all the essential amino acids which are present is very important for the growth of the baby and for intellectual, as well as, the proteins are the building elements of our body. So the cell growth, the brain growth, the muscle growth, everything depends on protein. So having a meal which is holistic and has all the protein components is very important.
Agreed, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, and this preconception period, now in the metro cities, the scenario has changed. Most of the couples we are getting are coming for this preconception counseling. So, ma'am, I want to know your opinion, iron, folic acid, and zinc. What's your opinion on that, ma'am? Because folic acid, ma'am, so everybody's taking by doing the Googling. So, want to know from your side, ma'am.
I think it's very important to have the adequate stores of iron, folic acid, zinc, because they are the ones, folic acid, for the brain development, for the eye development, it's really required. And iron, oxygen is carried by, iron is converted to heme, and oxygen is carried to every part of the body by that iron. And zinc is also very important for brain development, for eye development, and other systems. And all the, the molecular processes, the hormonal processes are controlled. So I think it's very important. And I would rather have them supplemented during the preconception area, and have them fit before they conceive. So folic acid, definitely, yes. Iron and zinc also, I think it's very important. The micronutrients are very, very important.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, as you have mentioned regarding this micronutrients, ma'am, what's your take home for this macronutrients too?
In the right amounts. You have to take all of them. It's very important.
Correct. Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, now coming to the next question, as we have discussed regarding this iron, folic acid and zinc, ma'am, your take home message for regarding the calcium requirement in the pregnancy and which salt? Market is full of the salts.
I think whatever gives you that calcium, in its finally, the requirement is 1,000 milligrams per day. And calcium is very, very important because of the bones. And because I think every function, even the muscle contraction, requires calcium ions to cross over. So calcium is very essential. In fact, all my infertility patients, I put them on calcium supplements throughout their treatment. And it has to continue, I feel, during pregnancy. It's very, very important. Calcium, vitamin D3 along with it is the essential parts. And calcium also has proven to show that it reduces your PIH incidence, the preterm delivery. So it's a very important molecule.
Yes. So as madam has correctly mentioned, the 1,000 mg per day is the requirement, either calcium carbonate, calcium citrate, maleate. So many preparations are available these days.
Yeah.
And
zinc, because it's COVID times, you realize even immune function is controlled by zinc. So zinc is really essential micronutrient.
Yes, correct. Yes, ma'am. So many patients are coming with that only. Ma'am, we have already started vitamin C, zinc, vitamin D3, all we have started. So yeah, thank you, ma'am, for that. Ma'am, now coming to a very important topic. I know ma'am has a very passion for the prebiotics and probiotics. I have learned and heard so many places the ma'am speaking about the prebiotics and probiotics. So ma'am, what's your opinion for this prebiotics and probiotics at the pregnancy time period?
I think it's very, very important because we all know that the latest research is showing that the probiotics are actually required so that you don't have these inflammatory disorders like diabetes, blood pressure. I mean, there are studies now which are saying that give the probiotics to kind of control your diabetes also. So definitely, I feel that the lactobacillus population in our body is really, really important. It plays a role in balancing. And I have seen it, like in a lot of my patients over the last 30 years, that you give antibiotics and the lactobacillus is completely depleted and they land up with vaginitis, with urinary tract infections. So I think it's very important because we realize this. I know that right now it's again been withdrawn during pregnancy because there are no studies in pregnancy for the probiotics and the prebiotics. So, but I feel in the antenatal care where there are a few studies on prevention of preterm labor, prevention of bacterial vaginosis, I think these play a very important role. And especially if you're giving antibiotics to a patient in pregnancy, I think it's important to supplement her with probiotics.
Yeah. These days, a lot of studies for prebiotics, probiotics, everything, IUGR, everything. We are getting a lot of studies and a lot of research papers.
Right.
Yeah. Ma'am, now coming to the next important nutrient content regarding the role of this DHA. So do you support for this DHA?
Yeah, I do use a lot of DHA from the second trimester for the brain.
Yeah.
I keep telling all the girls, you'll have a very intelligent child. And I think, during DHA, even during the lactation until the child is about, I think, 1,000 days old, DHA is very much required for the growth and development of the child. So I think, yes, we should use DHA during pregnancy.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, coming to other question regarding the use of lutein supplements. The studies have come, the lutein supplements are important for this eye development too.
I don't know. I've never used them, so I'm not very familiar with that. Maybe you could tell me about it.
No, I also have not used. I across the question, so that's why I thought to ask you the ma'am.
We can ask one of the people in the audience if they've used it. I haven't really used them, and I have no experience in them.
Let me finish my questions, ma'am. Then we will unmute our some doctor friends from the Lebanon and Oman who also want to ask some questions. They already told me. So, ma'am, now coming to the next question regarding this magnesium. So, what's the role of the magnesium during pregnancy?
I think, again, it's a micronutrient which is very essential. And I don't think we should give extra magnesium or anything during pregnancy, just a small amount which is required because it controls a lot of functions in the body. So yes, I would give magnesium. We give magnesium sulfate for prevention of severe preeclampsia. I don't know whether that is counted here, but yeah, I think as a whole, magnesium is required in the different cells of the body. So the right amount of magnesium is good.
Correct. As ma'am told, yes, for this preeclampsia, for neuroprotection, we are using these days.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Thank you, Ritu. For prematurity, neuroprotection before 34 weeks, Maxsulf is definitely being used.
Yeah. Thank you so much, ma'am. Friends, if you are having any questions, you are free to write in the chat box. Dr. Kariman, our dear friend from the Lebanon has joined. Ma'am is the stalwart here, Dr. Nandita ma'am, whom you can say we worship here. So, ma'am, I think they won't on the camera. Yeah. So, Dr. Kariman, if any questions or if you presented,
we have the first thing, we must to treat good the woman for alimentation for pregnancy.
Yes.
Not more carb, not more protein, not more lipid, moderate, exercise, good lifestyle, acid folic, not during pregnancy only. No, before pregnancy, we must start acid folic.
Folic acid you are talking. Folic acid you are talking. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And acid folic before pregnancy, I see, not during only. Magnesium, I agree with him, is a macronutrient more important, not during pregnancy, during the cycle, because we lost during the cycle magnesium, we need more. And what I want to
regarding the lutein supplement, are you using lutein supplement in your country?
Yes, we not more. We don't have this attitude, in alimentation, not more in alimentation. And this other thing I want to DHA during pregnancy and before preparation for pregnancy, we use DHA. What I want to see, magnesium, I see acid folic, probiotic. Probiotic is good all time in the life of woman. Adolescent pregnancy is very important because we use only time we use antibiotic. No, we want to use probiotic avec la vie, with life. Okay, this my comment.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for joining, Dr. Kariman.
Okay,
Madam, we have got one question from Dr. Ashwin. How to differentiate healthy child and obese child?
That's a very pediatric question.
Pediatric question, same thing I was going to answer.
I think even in children, there must be some BMI levels, right?
Yes, yes.
So I think if you calculate the BMI according to your pediatrician, you can put it in. I mean, it's not a question for me. I hand over the baby and bye-bye.
Yes, same. So before we get some more questions, I will ask some questions to ma'am. Ma'am, everyone is interested to know that what motivated you to become a doctor and especially a gynecologist.
Oh my gosh.
Gupta ji, you see till in between the chat box questions, I will ask my questions to ma'am.
I think ever since I was a child, I always wanted to become a doctor because my aunt was a doctor.
Okay.
And I always wanted to become a doctor. And gynecology was, when I was studying in 3rd MBBS, I really understood labor delivery. I think we had very good teachers for gynecology, so that I was attracted towards it. And basically IVF is because, when I was in the OPD during my MD residency, I used to get half the patients saying, "Ye bacha, we don't want this. Please do an MTP." And the other half saying, "We want a child." So I used to think I would pick up the child from here and put it over there so that both the parties would be satisfied. And I actually got into IVF for the, I developed a liking and I thought I could really go in and help. And it was like going in for technology or technique, because we had fantastic surgeons when I was studying, and technology was really coming there, And I had to choose between the two things, super specialization or now normal practice. Contraception was very big at that point. And there was IVF on the other side. So I think I chose IVF, technology, super specialization. So that's the path which I took. And I think I've really enjoyed it and it's become a passion with me. I love my field.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah, madam, one more question. Yes. What is the role of the nutritions in the lactation period, and which type of the nutritions women should take during lactation?
I think it's very important. Nutrition in the lactation period is really, really important because the baby does not get any other nutrients from any other source. So yes, I think the normal nutrients which we give, main importance is DHA, then the proteins, the carbohydrates, everything, the source should be there. You have to eat a very balanced diet. And I think all the micronutrients like zinc, folic acid, everything should be there in the right amount in your milk, breast milk, and that will really help the baby.
Yes, ma'am.
Iron, everything, whatever you're giving pre-pregnancy and pregnancy.
Yeah, plus the addition of this shatavari and this herbs are also we are adding in the lactation period. Yes, madam, as correctly mentioned.
That's not available abroad, I think.
Yeah, not available abroad. Ma'am, as you are the pioneer of starting for this egg freezing, so there are so many doctors have joined here. So I want, till we are getting the more questions, please give them some enlightenment about the egg freezing also, because ma'am was the pioneer. Ma'am was the first, I think, to start in India for the egg freezing. Means we all to see only ma'am as a role model for that also. So ma'am, there are so many doctors. So please give them some info about the egg freezing also.
I think egg freezing is a beautiful technology which got established in 2007. That is because freezing has been there since the 80s. But the vitrification technology, which was, it's known as flash freezing, by the lay people and all. So you drop the temperature from plus 37 to minus 196 at 2,500 degrees centigrade per minute. And it's really quick and there's no ice formation and the egg damage is really low. So retrieval of the eggs, it was like 99%, 97%. With the old technology, it was 40%. So that is when the freezing became really very accessible and very acceptable, I should say. And the pregnancy rates following IVF also really shot up because if you had 10 embryos, you would get all 10 back when you've frozen them by vitrification. And also at that point came in egg freezing. Egg freezing actually means stopping your biological clock for the woman. So cancer patients, those who have had, their ovaries removed for whatever reason, iatrogenic. Previously, dermoids, people would remove the ovaries and keep it. Even ectopic pregnancy, salpingo oophorectomy used to be done. So, I mean, all those things or endometriosis, where the endometrium has damaged your ovarian reserve, dermoid cysts, seromucinous cysts, these are repeated, recurrent, benign cysts of the ovary, and you do repeated surgeries on them. In India, tuberculosis is very common. It reduces the ovarian reserve. I think all these patients, and plus another indication really emerged. My first patient probably is the first in the world to have frozen eggs for a social reason. She was Miss World, Miss Diana Hayden, and she came in 2007 and froze her eggs. And she had not found a partner yet. She said, sorry, I'm not willing to compromise. I shall look for a person who is compatible with me intellectually, who respects me as a person. And she got married at the age of 40 and has 3 babies at 40 plus with the eggs that she froze in 2007. So I think it's a wonderful technology for girls. It's empowering, it's giving them freedom. If they have not got married, if they've not found the right partner, if they are busy in their careers, if they are busy with their education, I think they can freeze the eggs, halt the biological clock, go ahead in their career, do what they want and have the child. I mean,
Yes.
I don't recommend it to all women. I would prefer that they do it naturally, get married early, have children, and then get on with, and take help. Your husband should be an equal partner, or your partner. If you're living with somebody, he should be equally with you, he or she. I think right now we are really become open-minded, and I've had a lot of single parents, a lot of people who, live together and want to have a child. So I think in our country, unfortunately, it is not yet legalized that same-sex couples can have children. But it gives a lot of freedom to everybody. I had one patient who came at the age of 32. She had one child and she wanted to wait for a couple of years. So she froze her embryos because she was not sure she wanted a second child. But she said, if I want it and if I'm older. And then she came back to me at 39 and had those children with the embryos frozen at 32. So all kinds of indication, Ritu, for egg freezing. I think it's an amazing technology.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
At what age the egg freezing is advisable?
Ideally before 35, but I'm even seeing young girls now, 28-year-olds with low AMH. AMH is a test. Today I've been talking a lot about this concept of health checkup. Women should undergo health checkup. They should undergo mammography, PAPs, smears and all. So the thought process came to me today that fertility check should also be done by women. You're doing pap smear when you're active, sexually active, do an AMH. And if the AMH is low, you can freeze your eggs. I think it's a fertility insurance. I mean, if you're taking precautions by doing pap smear and getting treated if you have precancerous lesions, if you have a low AMH, you should freeze your eggs. I think it's a very novel idea and a novel concept that we should promote fertility check. And I think I shall take this up in my ISAR presidency, Ritu. You can spearhead it.
Yes, sure, ma'am. Sure, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, there is one question on my WhatsApp by Dr. Kumar. He's asking, madam's opinion on for the PCOS, which kind of nutrition is recommended?
For the PCOS, I think low glycemic index foods are really important and rich protein. But actually, the meta-analysis, let me go research-wise and evidence-based medicine. You have to have a low caloric diet. It does not mention that a high protein diet or a keto diet will help you and all those things. But evidence shows that if you reduce the calories in PCOS, the patients will lose weight. And I feel even for the lean PCOS, it's very important to have a very healthy, balanced diet. So even if you're thin, if you take carbs with low glycemic index, it corrects the metabolic imbalance, corrects your insulin resistance, which is there. So it's very important to have a healthy diet.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, there is one doctor, Dr. Aarti Kaushal has joined. I think, she is writing how to tackle the problem of ovarian cyst naturally. Doesn't it causes problem in conceiving naturally?
Naturally, just wait and watch. The cyst will
Yeah.
break on its own.
Yeah.
But I think if there are certain group of patients who get cyst all the time,
Yeah.
okay, they have a tendency to form cysts. Now, those I feel sometimes require IVF because they just don't rupture, and luteinized unruptured follicle, and they don't get pregnant. Then sometimes in IUI, if I'm not getting the ovulation and it's forming a cyst, I switch over to IVF in these patients where I go in and get those eggs out.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Are any more questions on the YouTube or Facebook?
I think we've had a good 45 minutes discussion, Ritu.
Thank you, ma'am. Charisma. It's your charisma, ma'am.
Oh, thank you.
Madam, one question I am having. Suppose as a pharma company, we want to develop some nutrition for the adolescent group, fertile group, and menopause group. So then how we can differentiate the formulation as per the need of this age group?
I think adolescence is growing. So the protein content, the building blocks, the zincs, the calcium should be more. Then the pregnant mothers, again, I think, the requirements of the fetus and the child have to be taken, what I talked about. And the menopause is also very important. I think the calcium supplements, the micronutrients that are needed, antioxidants should be there because, as you age, the antioxidant capacity of the body goes down. So I think to help that, to assist that, and I think DHEA is a very promoted anti-aging supplement. So there are a lot of anti-aging, therapeutics which are there. And I think it would be very interesting to have something for that menopausal age because 50% of your women are, not 50, 40% of the women are menopausal. So it's a huge market. And remember, when the woman gets menopausal, she has the money to buy also.
Yeah.
Very correct. As madam has told DHEA, ma'am, I think addition of melatonin will be also be helpful.
Testosterone, even melatonin, yes.
Melatonin.
Testosterone for libido.
Yeah.
I think women are living, they want a quality of life. They want to have, enjoy their lives. So why not, help them improve their quality of life? So if you have a nutritional supplement which will improve their quality of life, go for it.
Yes. So thank you so much.
Now, Mr. Gupta is going to give me a 10% commission for my.
Yes.
Only 10%, ma'am.
I'm not greedy. I'm satisfied.
No, I know.
Satiety center here.
Yes.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, in spite of having such a busy schedule, you accepted our invitation. Thank you so much, ma'am, from the bottom of my heart. Ma'am, this lovely rose is for you.
Oh, thank you. I was just hoping I have the energy left over by the time I come on to you. But I think with Ritu there, the energy comes by itself.
Yes.
Wow, ma'am, you made my day. Thank you so much, ma'am.
So it was great. I think thank you to all the participants who have been there. I mean,
thank you very much, ma'am. And once again, happy Women's Day. And for sparing your valuable time with us. And it is a quite knowledgeable session we had. And
thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Ritu. Thank you.
Welcome. Nice. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Happy Women's Day to everybody.
Yeah, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Praveen.
Yeah.